unbag and take a look at Arcola. This is from Operational Studies Group. Yes, this is an older game. This game came out, I believe, in 1979 and then was republished by Avalon Hill, I believe, in 83. And this is Kevin Zucker was one of the co-designers on this, but this kind of emulates Kevin Zucker's campaign series or Napoleonic campaign games, of which I have some. The Struggle of Nations, I probably need to redo an unboxing of this. I bought this used probably about maybe within the last decade, maybe. This one is the same. I bought this. It's not used though. This is in shrink wrap. At least I think it's mostly in shrink wrap, and I've yet to unbox this. So this is a surprise or spoiler. At some point, I probably should unbox this. And this is Napoleonic week. Maybe I do it this week, or maybe I'll save this one. I've held on this so long that I'm not sure if I really want to unbox it just yet. Again, I buy these to play them, but when you get these older ones that have never really been ripped in the shrink, I don't know. I hold on to them for a little bit longer. I don't have very many of those. I have, I think, 2, possibly 3 that are still in shrink, that are older titles, and especially the Avalon Hill ones I tend to hold on to those. And do I break the shrink or not? But anyway, I digress enough. This was another one of those, but I've had this for a long, long time. Those last two I've got with, again, I believe, in the last decade. This one I got several years ago. I didn't get it in 1979, but I got it several years ago, probably 20 years ago. I played, I think, a friend's copy at one point, but before I bought this, so a long time ago, and I picked this up and I just never pulled it out of the bag. So this is, very portable. It's in a bag. It's a small format. I don't think the box game was that much larger. I think it had one of those funky Avalon Hill one-piece maps that never lay down straight, and when you do, they break. But this is a paper map, and was probably my first exposure to like the campaign series, or Zucker's campaign series, which I think that was what this was intended to do. It says Arcola is an introduction to OSG's Napoleonic series, games which attempt to cover the campaigns of 1796 to 1815 and use the same scale, 2 miles per heck, 2 days per turn, and basic systems throughout. The games present Napoleon's system of maneuver, his concept of strategic battle, through which victory was so often guaranteed by movement made days or weeks before the battle was joined, against the constant changing background of personalities, armies that shaped each particular campaign. The Battle of Arcola was one of the first real tests of Napoleon's ability. Took place during the Italian campaign of 1796. In November of that year, 2 Australian forces under Marshal Avicensi and Lieutenant General Davidich threatened to converge on the French from the north and the east, joined forces at Verona, and marched southwards to raise the siege of Mantua. Bonaparte's task was to make use of interior lines to unite his scattered troops and defeat the separate wings of the Austrian pincers in detail. Arcola is a game for 2 players. The game map shows the area of northern Italy in which the campaign occurred. The 100 cardboard playing pieces represent the brigades leaders of each side. The rules explain how each turn the players can move their units and have combat and nearby enemy troops. The players who successfully carries out his campaign will win the game. Now, it says right here that they will all have the same scale, like this 2 miles per hex, 2 days per turn. I don't know if these other ones in this campaign series, like Napoleon at Bay and Struggle of Nations, I think they're developed like a 3X and 1X or 2X. I remember seeing that I've read up on it on BGG mostly, on like there was these different versions of Zucker's campaign series that had a little bit different scales. I think the rules were generally the same, but they had some different scales. But I'm not as clear on that. Again, I played a friend's copy of this many years ago, and I still haven't broken out Napoleon at Bay and Struggle of the Nations. I bought it and kind of inventoried it a little bit, but I never took on that one. And Struggle of Nations is one of those ones that it's got the smallest hexes I've ever seen on a map. So that's probably worthy of breaking that out and taking a look at that at some point. But maybe this week. All right, so let's get in the bag and take a look at this here. So I've got so much I want to cover this week that I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to these other ones. So Napoleon at bay may stay at bay and survive to live another day. How about that for rhyme? So here's the rules. Here's the map. And here are the counters. Now you're going to be excited by these counters. Yeah, they're very nondescript type counters. They almost feel like, look a little bit like old SPI counters. Kind of thin, kind of muted, dull kind of colors. I mean, as far as there's not a gloss to them or anything like that, but they work. And so you have these leaders here, and then you have the units. Now the units really don't go on the board. They're going to be tracked on a leader chart. That's I think is something that's consistent throughout the campaign series. The and you get so many activation points to move your units, and the different scenarios will tell you what your activation points are. But if you're not lost by not having enough activation points, because you can use these initiative, and the higher the number, the better, because you have to roll under that or under to I believe it's under to activate. So these generals can become very important for activations, and then this is just tracking your strengths. There is a number on them, and that's like where that's their number when they become ineffective or ineffective or something like that. I got to look that up again. So you got the two different leaders. You've got the marking their units, and then you got a game turn. There's your markers. So, and these are not double-sided, so relatively basic, but it does introduce you to the system. Let's look at the rules next here. So you've got dual column. They're not the largest font, but still, they're not super small. Probably average for rules. And the system is not. The system can be complex because it's not just your standard hex and counter zones of control and stacking type situation, because it's really a campaign, so it's really operational. So you're covering some other aspects of the campaign, especially the activation of units and stuff like that. So that becomes adds a little bit of complexity to the mix. But even with that, you're only looking at 8 pages of rules, and then you have this separate chart page. You have your combat results table, initiative modification table, because that initiative, again, is very important in this game. Pursuit table, setup, reinforcement track, terrain effects, movement, and then your reinforcements. And there's some game errata here. So yeah, so that is, that's your tables. And then the rules are 8 pages, dual column. So again, now I think the other games might go into a little bit more detail. This was more of an introduction, but there you have it. So there's your, I think the asterisks are combat bonus, and then the number is an initiative roll. So Bonaparte's got the highest activation or initiative, and it's got 2 stars or asterisks for combat bonus. It's ineffectiveness. That's that number that you see at the bottom there. So not a lot of things to track on the counters in that regard. So you got your movement routine, and again, that's revolving activations and action points, I believe. Then you have there's different types of leaders and how many units they can command. Like here's the command spans based on the type of leader, and Napoleon is a 4, so he can command 7 there. So again, the order of battle or the command structure is important in this. This is, again, more operational. Then you have movement and combat. And that isn't as complex, although it is a few pages here. It's pretty much the rest of the game. And then you have your victory conditions here. And so let's take a look at the map here. I think Callendale played this at one point. I think he played the Avalon Hill version of this. So you might want to look that up if you want to see some gameplay on it. But there is the map. And so you can see it's not very big. It's a small footprint, and it fits in that bag. So you have your terrain effects charts. You have clear, hill, and mountain, and a fortified town, river town. What is that? It's a road, primary road, secondary road, and swamp. And there was some swamp issues here. Napoleon got stuck in the swamp, I think, personally, at one point in here. And you're going to have, you got your turn track, but then you have your leaders, and they're facing different ways. So the Austrians are supposed to sit here, and the French, or Austrian on this side, French on this side, because you can see your leaders there. So this is where you're going to keep track of your leader. So, Bonaparte is the overall leader, but then like Messina, that Leclerc counter that is right here will start here, and then you just put these unit counters in their respective places, and this shows your kind of what your strength is on this track. And then combat results will of course change that, and then the Austrians have theirs facing this way on that track. So there you have it. So that is what you get in a bag of Arcola. I thought I'd break out an oldie but a goodie. I wanted to get this to the table at some point. Since it's Napoleonic week, I thought I'd see what we can do today in taking a look at this. And also it kind of introduces that whole campaign series. I need to do a little more research and find out what are the real differences. I believe there's a lot of similarities between them. I don't know if there's enough to really call them a cohesive system, because I know there's this 1X, 2X, 3X. I understood that, I think, at one point, but I haven't researched that in quite a while. So anyway, so that is what you have in Arcola. There's at least two different versions of this. There's this OSG version, and then there is an Avalon Hill version. So if you're ever on the used market, you know what you get in the bag. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. If you have any comments on this, or if you want to explain the campaign series or the difference of the campaign series, or anything about this, love to hear from you. Feel free to drop them in the comments and explain away. Anyway, thanks so much for stopping by. Take care. Thanks for watching.